Hello everyone and welcome to the tiebreaks of the World Rapid Championship. After 13 rounds we have 4 people on 9 points, or is it maybe 9.5 points, doesn't really matter, but 4 people are tied. It's Magnus Carlsen, Fabiano Caruana, Nodirbek, Abdusattorov and Nepomniachtchi here, but only the 2 players with the best additional criteria will actually go into tiebreaks. And here they are, it's Abdusattorov and Nepomniachtchi. They will brawl it out for first prize. Let's check it out. They will play 2 blitz games, and then if the 2 blitz games are drawn, they don't go into Armageddon, but they continue playing blitz indefinitely or until someone wins, which is a new rule. So some people like it, some don't, but at least a rapid championship will not be decided by Armageddon. In this case, it will be decided by blitz. So this is the second game of their match. First game, Nepo had the white pieces and he had a promising position, but it's a 3-minute blitz game. He couldn't take advantage of his position and the game ended in a draw. Now Abdusattorov has the white pieces. Let's see what happened in this one. So Abdusattorov opens with c4. He goes for the English opening. Knight to f6, we have knight to c3, e5, knight to f3, and the knight to c6. Again, we have the 4 knights of the English. E4, and now the so-called Nimzovich variation, and bishop to b4 now. We have d3, defending the e4 pawn, and d6 now. We have h3 and a5. We have bishop to e2, and now there is a game where h6 was played, but here Nepo plays bishop back to c5, and it is now as of move 7 that we have a completely new game. And both of them are playing extremely quickly. However, Abdusattorov is playing a little bit faster. In the first game, you could really see how incredibly fast he was. He started with 3 minutes, and after like 20 moves, he had maybe 3 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock. Nepo also had a pretty fast start, but not as fast. And in the second game, Abdusattorov also was playing, seemingly much faster. We have castles and h6 now. We have bishop to e3, bishop captures, f captures, and now Nepo castles. We have queen to e1. Now Abdusattorov wants to play knight h4. He wants to bring the knight to f5. He wants to bring the queen to g3, maybe h4, depending on what Nepo plays. We have knight to e7 and knight to h4. Now we have knight to g6 and now knight to f5, preparing to bring the queen into the game. We have c6 and now queen to g3. And now you don't want all this pressure on the g file, so here Nepo removes one of the attackers. We have not f captures but rook captures, so he can play rook a to f1 and double up on the f file. We have knight to h7 and now rook a to f1. And now as we've prepared this move. Queen is coming to h4, queen to h4. Nepo offers a queen trade. King to h2, Abdusattorov now defends the queen. Queen captures and king captures. So the queens get traded off, but Abdusattorov already has a very active king. Knight to e7, attacking the rook. Rook back to f2. We have knight to g5, and now h4. Kicking away the knight, knight to e6, and now bishop to g4. We have knight to c7, and now knight to a4. So putting a lot of pressure here. Knight to b6 is definitely an option. We have f6 now, strengthening the center, but now d4. Striking in the center, you want black to capture, of course, and we're going to force this by moving our rooks all the way to the d file. So here we have rook f to d8, but now rook to d2. And unless black captures here, we're just going to double up on the d file and capture on e5. So Nepo doesn't want to capture, he plays b5 instead, and now attacking the knight and trying to mess up the central pawn structure. Now c captures on b4, knight captures on b4, and now rook to c1. Very interesting here was captures on e5, f captures on e5, and now knight to b6, attacking the rook. And when the rook moves, now we have this very nice knight to c4 idea, but it's a 3-minute blitz game. You can't see everything. Now this is being threatened because the rook is undefended. Also, we're threatening to play a4, kick away the knight, win this pawn. So this would be very good for white. But okay, rook to c1 was played. Now comes rook a to b8, and now knight to c3. We have king f7. Nepo starts bringing his king into the game, and h5, not allowing any g6 moves. So knight captures on c3, rook captures on c3, and now rook to b5. We have bishop to e2, kicking away Nepo's rook, rook back to b6, and now bishop to c4 with check. And now you could go back, and probably you should go back, but Nepo strikes in the center with the d5. We have d captures on e5. F captures on e5, and now E captures on d5. We have C captures on d5, and now e4. And you can see that the pawn can't move. If you move it, then the king will be in check. And well, how do you defend the pawn here? It's simply not happening. So here, king f6, Nepo unpins, but now bishop captures on d5. We have knight captures, pawn captures, and king to g5. So now Abdusattorov is up a pawn, but it's not going to be easy to convert this. So rook to e3, going after the e5 pawn, and now king captures on h5. We have rook captures on e5, king to g6, and now d6, advancing the pawn, attacking the a5 pawn, so trying to trade this one for this one, but then you will have two connected pass pawns on the queen side. So here a4, but now d7. We have king to f7, and now rook to f2 with check. We have king to g6, and now rook to e7. Now Abdusattorov wants to play rook to f7 and then capture on g7. So rook to d6 going after this pawn, but now just rook f to f7. We have rook to d3 check, king to f4, now comes rook to b8. And rook captures on g7 with check. And now Nepo played king to f5, which is a pretty bad move, because you can deliver checkmate in two moves. However, luckily for Nepo, Abdusattorov missed it. It's actually just rook to e5 check, king h4, and rook to g4 checkmate. But so much is at stake, and players are very low on the clock. He misses it after Nepo's king to h5. He just goes king to f5, and now we have rook captures on b2, grabbing this pawn. And again, the idea is still here, but rook to g8 is played, preparing to promote this pawn. And now we have rook b to d2, now threatening to pick up the pawn, but also guarding the d8 square. And again, it's the exact same idea, only now it's much cooler. Here you can actually play rook to g5 check, and after h captures, deliver this rook to h7 checkmate. Which is of course very nice. King covers this, rook covers this. Or if you don't capture, if the king just moves, then it's the exact same checkmate with rook to e4. So again, this was possible, but Abdusattorov missed it. He played rook to e1. Now he's threatening rook to h1 checkmate. Now comes rook d5 check, king to f6, rook to d6 check, king f5, rook 6 to d5 check, king to f4, and now Nepo should go rook 2 to d4 check and continue checking the white king with a lot of drawing chances, but instead he goes with this rook, and now he allows the white king to escape. King to g3 was played, rook d to d3 check, king h2, and now rook to d5, but also it doesn't matter. If you capture on d7, it's the simple rook e5 check, king to h4, and now g3 check. The black king has no squares, you have to give up the rook, which is similar to what happened in the game. So instead rook to d5 was played. Now Abdusattorov just gets the rook away from the 5th rank. He plays d8 queen, brings a queen into the game, and forces Nepo to capture this queen. So rook captures the queen, rook to e5 with check, king to h4, and g3 check, and it was in this position on move 56 that Nepomniachtchi resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. You have to capture the pawn, then rook captures here, and now you're just down the rook. If rook d2 check, we can simply block with rook to g2, and that's it. Completely winning position for Abdusattorov, who pretty much crushed everyone, and well, he regardless of what everyone is saying, and it's like Magnus says in the quote above the board, squabbles about the rules aside, what an absolutely incredible achievement. So he only lost the one game in this entire event to I believe Anton Korobov, and he just destroyed everyone, including world champion Magnus Carlsen. Incredible event, and it's just that he played so convincingly, even after his game against Magnus, which was pretty much all engine moves. He gave Magnus that one little tiny chance that Magnus missed to remaneuver the knight. It was that king to b8 move or knight to c5, but Magnus missed it, and then well, there was nothing more. It was just a draw, and Magnus was trying to force a win, and then Abdusattorov punished him. But even after that game, he said that he wasn't too impressed with his game against Magnus, that he was looking forward to playing the other games and trying to play them even better. And it would seem that he was very much able to do that, and he was in a lot of trouble in the last two games, but he managed to come on top and not lose them. He was lost against Fedosev, and then again in the final round against Duda. Magnus even at some point during his game with Hikaru got up from the table and went to check up on Nodirbek's game, and on Nodirbek's game against Duda, and he saw that Duda was winning, so I guess Magnus wasn't all that impressed. He didn't think Nodirbek was going to go into the tie breaks, but then Duda couldn't finish him off. The game ended in a draw, and that's how we got Abdusattorov and Nepomniachtchi here in the tie breaks, and Abdusattorov completely crushed him. Big congratulations to Abdusattorov. I believe second is Jan, and Magnus is third. Yeah. And Fabi in fourth place. Unfortunately for Fabi, tough break for him. He shouldn't have agreed to that draw, but it's weird, not knowing the rules like that. That's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Maybe I will have time to cover a few more games, so do use #suggestion with your favorite games from the Rapid event. Tomorrow we are continuing with the Blitz event. I believe it's gonna be really awesome. Once again, hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank Catherine Maltarich, Jack Schroeder, Jeffrey Redenor, Evgeny Brishkin, and David Kimura for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of this incredible event until it ends, which means for 2 more days. See you soon.